connections. How's everybody doing? Let me let them know that we are live on Instagram. Let them know that we are live everywhere. How is everybody? How is everybody doing? Now, what happened here? How is everybody doing? Come on, see, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, yeah, let's get this done because everyone hit that thumbs up button if you're on YouTube. Hit that like button on YouTube. On Instagram, go ahead and like it. Like the video. Facebook, go ahead and join us. Don't forget, if you basically are on Instagram, go ahead and roll over to YouTube so that you can basically continue to listen to the podcast. The number to call in today is 516-418-5867. 516-418-5867. We're talking about Tamika Mallory and her recent interview with TMZ. Is Tamika Mallory moving towards the feminist movement? Talking about sexism is the same as racism. Wow. Lawyer Henderson will come back to spit and chop up game with you. Here we go. How about foolish American politics? And let's discuss the issues. Is available on Barnes and Nobles, Amazon.com. Foolish American politics. Let's discuss the issues. Is available. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Today we're talking about, is Tamika Mallory moving towards the feminist movement? She tried to basically, on her recent interview with TMZ, tried to say that sexism and racism are one of the same. Okay, this is just like as one person had called it out. I think was on Chat Live with Vicky Dillard, who says that, hey, that's just like saying that gay rights and civil rights are the same. No comparison, ladies and gentlemen. And we have to set our sister down, Tamika Mallory, and talk with her a little bit more. You see, because here's the thing, and we'll get more into it here a little bit later on in the podcast. But when Cindy McCain called out Tamika Mallory for basically not denouncing Louis Farrakhan, and white people like to do this. They like to use propaganda against you because they know that they have a not a hidden, but they have there's way more evidence about what white supremacy and how it has destroyed black people in this country. And so people like Cindy McCain, I think I said her name right, she likes to basically use the same talking points that we see the white community often use, and that is to say, well, are you going to denounce Farrakhan for his anti segmentism and all that stuff. And I told you though, I told you all, as Dr. John Henry Clark taught us, if white people can't tell us what Semitic means, then how can I be anti-Semitic? And this is what got, I think, what's his name? What's the guy's name? Nick Cannon. Is when he basically did the podcast. The white people, the white Jewish people were upset because he said that that black folks are the real Jews of the Bible. That the description of you know of the skin is brass and all that. How of course that's not white folks. So the Bible cannot be talking about them being the real Jews, the real children of Israel. So the white Jewish people come out with that kind of feeling some type of way. But Amanda Seals and all these other um, black feminists. Well, I won't call Amanda Seals a black feminist yet. I would call her just an uneducated hood rat. And that's how Tamika Mallory was sounding when she did this TMZ interview with Harvey Levin, who was also anti-race, anti-black. Oh yeah, he hid behind his co-star, this light-skinned black dude who sat there and joke and screw over with him, and who only get paid to basically co-sign for his white daddy. This is the kind of things that we see all the time. Okay, now we're going to go over a lot of things about what Tamika Mallory said, and I told you I like Tamika Mallory. I love Tamika Mallory, but right now she's just off code right now. You did? Tamika Mallory is just off code right now. Our sister is basically are not sitting down with the real people that she can have some understanding. She got put on, of course, by I think Al Sharpton and all these other people who was giving her a platform. And civil rights leadership is dead. As Malcolm said, we cannot basically use the civil rights ideology no more. This has to be elevated, as Malcolm said, to the level of human rights. Because we're not basically, Dr. Claude Anderson asked us, who is civil? Just answer the question. But that's on Tamika Mallory's website. Tamika Mallory was joining forces with other women. She had the Women's March, which is okay. You got a Women's March talking about equality. Fine. But Tamika Mallory is all over the place in her activism. And we have seen that from other people as well. We see that with Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and others. When you basically come out and supposed to then get black people to support you, and then you start going out there trying to then advocate for other people who do not need your advocacy, by the way. Everybody else is already on a higher economic playing field than black folks. Okay. But ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to just go over where our dear sister said on the show. And you probably can't hear this because I've already checked it out. You can't hear it, but we'll repeat what she says. We're gonna go over. And by the way, you can listen to her interview. By the way, and look at it. It's on TMZ. Tamika Mallory, her interview. They're talking about Kamala Harris. Like the interview was Kamala not a shoe in for 2020 with Black America. Tamika Mallory says. Okay, so let's get deep into this. Let's go ahead and do this. Okay, now let's stop right there. Harvey Levin told her, or asked the question rather, that Kamala Harris possibly the first black female vice president. Okay, right there already, Harvey Levin is starting out basically trying to say that this is a black woman. Okay, and this is what the white media does. They like to basically try to use, along with Kamala, because she does this as well, use black as it is convenient. Now, Kamala, as we all know, is Jamaican and India, and she's from India, and she has often used and always supported her Indian heritage over her black. She doesn't talk about her father, who is a Jamaican man, at all. Let's be very clear about that. Typically, you take after your father. Your daughter, as a daughter, you want to learn from your father more over than your mother as well, because your father basically is tell you to, hey, watch out. These are the guys you should watch out for. These are the guys you should basically deal with. Okay, so why is Kamala Harris not out here talking about her blackness? Why is she not talking about her Jamaican father and what he done for her? You see, you got to be very, very clear on certain types of women who basically do not mention their family often. You don't know anything about their family. They rarely talk about their family members. And and when they come out, when they do talk about their family members, it's always negative. Remember when we talked about Kevin Hart, in order to entertain the white press, the white media, he has to call his daughter and his kids dumb. He has to say that my daughter just sitting there, like I said yesterday, getting hit with balls and stuff like that, degrading his family because this entertains white people. You understand? So the ideal here is that, let's get back on the subject. Tamika Mallory, Tamika Mallory, our dear sister, is asked by Harvey Levin that do Kamala Harris have the black vote in support if she should run as the first female, because they like to say woman of color. Let's use that, because she is a woman of color if that's what she wants to be. But if she is the presidential nominee in 2024, as Harvey Levin asked her, will she have the black vote? Now, mm, okay, so he asked her a good question. Okay, I'm not going to criticize his question. That's a legitimate question. The question was, I know a lot of you can't hear me on YouTube, so I'm going to repeat what he asked her. He says that if Biden does not come through on his promises of what he promised black folks, do you hold support out for Kamala Harris in 2024? That's what he asked her. Okay, we're gonna listen to her response, and I will come back because, like I said, no, you people on YouTube don't cannot hear her response. Okay, now let's stop right there so far. She said her response was Donald Trump was an intimate threat. We just had to get him out of there. That was basically, to sum it up, is what she responded as. That here is a dangerous white man. We just got to get him out of there. And basically, we're going to have to support Joe Biden instead. Now, I'm going to come back and tell you why this right here is dangerous. Okay? And she said now she's coming out and saying that we had an interesting situation where we had to vote against him. Now, this is Tamika Mallory. She is basically up here saying in her interview that Donald Trump, oh man, this was a bad white dude. This man is bad and blah, blah, blah. Fine. Have no problem with that. Have no problem with that. But it's what she says next is got the black community like, Tamika, what you talking about? Okay. Okay. Now she brought a good point, but she don't go into depth and then asking the question. Okay, like I said, you people on YouTube cannot hear it probably. She said in her response that yes, Kamala Harris have a pass. Now remember, if you've been listening to the black media, we've told you what that pass is. But she said then, Tamika Mallory, is that in 2024, in order for Kamala Harris to have support from the black community, that Kamala Harris will have to deal with her past. And we've been telling you what Kamala Harris' past was. In fact, Kamala Harris have been against black people from day one. She's been basically a supporter. She's been a bed witch. If this was slavery, Kamala Harris was the ideal bed witch. You understand? She slept her way to the top of this position, by the way. When she would start going around Willie Brown, downtown Willie Brown was, giving her in nice cars, had sex with this heifer, and she was basically given a political boost. Now, if that's what she's basically telling women to do in order for you to make it on top, hey. But we want to talk about what Tamika Mallory said. Tamika Mallory said, this is what our dear sister has said. And like I said, I like Tamika Mallory. I love her. She's a good woman. Got a little crush on her too. But she's talking nonsense, though. Okay, she's talking nonsense. Okay, because we all know that Kamala Harris is basically, when she was California's attorney general, she basically laughed about certain things and black people, being arrested for truancy, black women having to go to jail because their kids had doctor's appointment and they skipped school, and she wants to lock them up. You see, we had Kamala Harris at the time, basically using, keeping people in prison who were supposed to get out, but using them as slaves to help firefighters fight to control the wildfires in California. We had Kamala Harris, who basically was ignoring the fact that certain types of black people were innocent in jail. This is the type of Kamala Harris that Tamika Mallory had said has garnered the black female vote. You understand? Black women put Kamala Harris and Joe Biden on top. Now, if you listen to my channel, I already told you that's a lie. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris stole the election, and that's the reason why the white supremacist elite, you see. Now, let's back up a little bit, because we've been talking about this for a minute. Okay, Donald Trump is in a fight with the white elitists who wants him out of office. That's Bill Gates and Dr. Anthony Fauci. Okay, they want Donald Trump gone because they can sell this virus and vaccine moreover when a Democrat is in office than the Republicans. Donald Trump was saying, let's give the vaccine to everybody. Here come Joe Biden, who said that there's going to be a dark winter. Him and Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates, they're saying no. Give this only to black folks. Give this only to African people. Give this vaccine only to Indian people. Let them take it first. For all of y'all supporters of these Democrats, by the way. And I'm not saying that the Republicans are any better. But let's just look at the history of what's going on here. Let's go back and look at the what's going on as far as what's going on behind closed doors. Okay? And so Tamika Mallory is sitting here talking about, hey, let's if we're going to support Kamala Harris, we got to vote and get the orange man out of office. Come on, Tamika Mallory, what's the difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden? But anyway, let's listen to this stuff. Okay, and then here she go, continue to respond. Oh, Kamala Harris been on a listening tour. Oh, have she? And to basically understand all the intricacy, whatever she said, she just used some word, but she said that Kamala Harris been on a listening tour. Hmm. I wonder who the listening tour is with. Is the listening tour with black people who basically she's turned her back on as the California Attorney General? Is it the black people that she helped to get locked up in mass incarceration? Is it the black parents that she locked up during as California Attorney General? Oh, maybe it's the black folks that she has on her listening tour, okay, in which she ignored, even though she knew that they were innocent, and the judges had to force her to basically get these people that she had in jail out of jail. It took a judge to tell this heifer, you got to let this man out of jail. This is the Kamala Harris right now who is on a listening tour. Who is she talking to? Is she talking to women of color? Is she talking to her white pals, huh? I bet, of course, it is Kamala Harris. While she's on this listening tour, as you say, Tamika Mallory, she's basically going to say and advise Joe Biden of all the anti-racism that he did against black folks, right? We can't forget the 1994 crime bill. We can't forget that he sat there in the Senate saying that my blonde hair, blue eyed child should not be going to school with a black person, and a black person should not be busting out over there. Or maybe it's the Joe Biden, of course, Tamika, who basically ignored the ideal of the 1994 crime bill and did not take no responsibility when he was called out on it. Oh, the pastors wanted it was the black clergies who wanted the 1994 crime bill. How about the Joe Biden who was saying niggers all everywhere while he was in the House of Representatives or the Senate? Is this the Joe Biden that is going to replace Donald Trump? Wow. Well, anyway, but let's continue. Hmm. Okay. I don't put my faith on any white man, especially a white man over the age of 74. That's what she said. Okay. How old is Joe Biden, Tamika? Tamika, Joe Biden is 74. Okay. You just said I had to get one white man out who was also in his 70s and replaced him with this white man. What's the difference? They're both in their 70s. You're saying I don't put my faith in one old white man that's 74 years old or over 70 when you just went out and you just said, Tamika, that you had to go out and we got to get Donald Trump. Well, who is Donald Trump alternative? Joe Biden was and is now. Come on, Tamika, sweetheart, you're not making any sense. Wait, you're not. You see, you've been around all of these black feminists. You've been around these white women who talking about certain things that, and we're gonna get into them in a minute. You're hanging around people who don't know what the hell they're talking about. Tamika, you got to sit down with us. You got to sit down with us in the black grassroots. We'll be able to tell you what's going on and why you should be advocating for black people and stop this gender war that y'all trying to start with black men. But anyway, let's continue. Ah, okay. So she did admit that Joe Biden has been invested in the most dangerous and detrimental things that have happened to black people. Oh, you don't say, Tamika. But yet you still want us to vote for him, right? You still talk about Tamika Mallory that the ideal here is that we vote for this lesser of the evils type thing. Is that what we're doing here, Tamika Mallory? Let me see. Now, Joe Biden has, I'm sorry, Donald Trump has not been basically in the House, in the Senate, writing every piece of legislation, I think, against black people. Oh, was it Donald Trump who was in the House or in the Senate working with known segregationists? Oh, no, Tamika Mallory. And you basically said we had to get Donald Trump out. Really, Tamika, when you basically sat there and refused to admit, moreover, that Joe Biden is worse for black folks. We're going to see more black people going to jail because of this administration. They already told you they're not going to do anything for black people. They got articles already talking about it was white men who put Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on over the top. But at first, I thought it was black people who did it. See, you see, this is the reason why you don't listen to the mainstream white media. They're not going to tell the truth here. But if you dare to admit that Joe Biden has invested in all of the discrimination and the policies that has affected adversely black people, as he did, then why would you come out and say that we just have to get Donald Trump in office and then vote and support a man just because he has a woman as his vice president? That's the trickery that they want you to basically believe. The ideal is that we're going to take a white supremacist, just like Joe Biden put him in office, only because he has a woman. A woman, by the way, who has shown you she has a history of supporting white daddy and white mom. It's not making sense. It's just not. Okay. So she said that I do believe that we can all grow. Oh, we can all evolve. Okay, now after you put your support with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, now all of a sudden we can evolve. We can basically we can grow. Okay, so we can't grow and evolve under Donald Trump, right? Okay, and like I said, I'm not trying to basically rationalize any support for Donald Trump, but listen to what she's saying. She's not making sense here, and this is black feminist hood rat talk. This is no different than what Cardi B was saying when she was interviewed with Joe Biden. All this stuff. Come on, man. And we all know that Cardi B is ignorant, foolish. She's a nitwit. She don't know nothing about politics. She's this dumb tramp who nobody is taking serious but the world star hip hop crowd. You got to understand something when it comes to politics. And this trick bag that Tamika Mallory and Angela Rye and Amanda Seals and Simone Sanders, all of them trying to sell black people is foolish. But we're going to continue with her interview here. Oh, now it comes to winning the 2 seats in Georgia. We're gonna see something happen. What is John Ossoff and Warnock going to do to help us in Georgia specifically? But what is their 2 Senate seats going to do to help Black folks in general? What is the difference to having Warnock and Ossoff in office? This is why. This is what I asked his campaign people who called me. Kept on sending me out 10 or 15 of these uh, ballots to sign and send back while they up here cheating. They're saying that Joe Biden got a lot of these votes and stuff like that because they kept on mailing out constant ballots. They mail out about 10 or 15 of them, having people send 2 or 3 ballots back in, and that's supposed to have gotten uh, Joe Biden over the top of Donald Trump. Come on, man. This man stole the election. We know that. Nobody was showing up at Joe Biden's rallies. Stop playing games here. And then the white women, Tamika Mallory, that you're trying to advocate and help as far as your women movement type situation. Oh, did they not support Donald Trump in the last election by 70% or more? Oh, Tamika Mallory, you are all over the place, my dear. Okay, this Minard dude who basically, and I have no problem against some hip hop star who did some time in jail or what have you. It's fine. I know he's a part of your organization, but basically, he does not have obviously the understanding of sitting down there and talking to you about the truth. This is the reason why you have to come back to the black grassroots. We will sit down and talk with you, Tamika, and we'll tell you the issues here that you must advocate for. But anyway, let's go on because it's almost over. Hmm, okay. Ah, ah, Tamika Mallory. Tamika Mallory just said that sexism is worse than racism, or almost worse than racism. Tamika. Here we go with the gender wars now. Tamika, please. Sexism is almost as worse as racism? Sweetheart, that's just like saying that gay rights is, the violating gay rights. That's almost as worse as civil rights. Come on, Tamika Mallory, get it together, my sweetheart, get it together. Sexism is almost as worse as racism. Come on. You know that women and men are not the same. Okay. And when we looked at how women are treated in this country, oh, I'm going to tell you how women are treated in this country in a minute. Okay. And how your alliance with other women who do not basically have the same experience in history, by the way, Tamika, that you do as a black woman. Oh, I'm going to tell you and show you the history of women in this country. Oh yeah. Just hold on, Tamika. We'll go over it for you. We'll educate you, Tamika Mallory, about what the history is as far as women being treated in the country. Okay, we'll go over that in just a moment. See, this is the reason why you can't have, and that's the end of the interview. See, this is the reason why you just can't have certain types of black folks speaking for us. And so, therefore, you have to be very careful. We told you that we're trying to move this civil rights crap and elevate it, as Malcolm said, to the ideal of human rights. Dr. Claude Anderson talked about this, using a situation of a issue such as sexism and women issues to try to basically start a gender war with your men. That's feminist talk. That's feminist rhetoric. Now, our dear sister Tamika Mallory talk about issues of women. Let's deal with that, okay? Let's deal with the ideal of the issues with women in this country. But then what you're going to then see, and actually certain of women had basically had some equal rights to their men. And as black women, of course, as you know, did not have the same rights as other women. Come on, Tamika Mallory. Okay. So basically, we're going to start a gender war, and then here she go with Arab women. She basically have an Arab woman, a Muslim woman, on her website. Basically, is a part of her organization. Tamika, the Arab, the Muslims. Nobody talked about the 9th century or the 20th century or what have you, where the Muslims enslaved black people before the white man did. What about the Muslims and their roles into the slave trade? And we want to talk about white women. Let's do that. According to now a black woman by the name of Stephanie Jones-Rodgers, who just released her book, she basically talked about the 40% of white women who were slave owners, Tamika. But you want to talk about women inequality. Come on. Look at the history of white women. You don't basically take white women ideology and then turn around and say that she has a basically the same struggle as you have when her man is on top of all of us, ignorant. The white women basically was more atrocious in the slave trade. Our dear sister Stephanie Jones-Rodgers talked about that in her book, how white women owned 40% of slaves during slavery and during post-Civil War. Tamika Mallory, come on, sister, get it together, sweetheart. And George Washington's wife, Martha, let's read about it. Most Americans know that George Washington owned enslaved people at his Mount Vernon home, but fewer probably know that it was his wife, Martha, who dramatically increased the enslaved population there. When they wed in 1759, George may have owned around 18 people, but his wife, Martha, one of the richest women in Virginia, owned 84 slaves. Tamika Mallory. So, therefore, when we talk about the history of women, your history as a woman, as a black woman, is not the same as a white woman. The white woman is basically the second largest business owner in this nation, man. Are you serious? She basically, during the fact that when white people pass laws as far as affirmative action, white women got most of business contracts. They became the second largest business owners. Okay, but you want to use some of the propaganda like we see white women say, the white feminists, when they went out against people like Brett Kavanaugh or went out against some other white men who may have abused them, or they may talk about the history where white men didn't want to let them sit down on the bus and talking about women's suffrage. Come on. Basically, Tamika, we had your back when you was attacked by Cynthia McCain. Cindy McCain. We had your back, Tamika Mallory, when you basically was said that you was discriminated by a major airline. And for you to sit up here and talk this foolish talk that women often engage in, and that to create gender wars, that means that you basically is becoming a black feminist. And I thought that you're hanging out with Manad, or however you say this black dude's name. I thought he would have the information because of his own struggles and his own situation as far as being a victim of white supremacy and being in jail or whatever. I thought he would be able to sit down with you and then talk with you about not getting a part of these gender wars with black men. But unfortunately, he don't even have all of the information, Tamika, in order to help you out on that, my sister. And you see what I'm saying? It's the same thing with Gayle King, the same thing with Oprah Winfrey, the same thing with Simone Sanders. Listen, you have Simone Sanders. Did we look at that picture of how she looked in high school? She looked like a total beautiful black female. But then look at her now, fat, overweight, got all of this haircut, and basically looking like some old fat person. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dang, I thought I was bad being this big, but I turn and look at her. I'm like, what's going on? So selling your people out got to be paying good for Simone Mamie Sanders. In high school, she looked like a female. Now look at her right now. Oprah, she talked about in 1992, she brought her ex-boyfriend Anthony Otey on. And they talked about their relationship in the 1970s. But look at what she's doing now to black men. Look at how she tried to destroy Michael Jackson, how she tried to destroy, what's his name? It's gonna come to me. It's gonna come to me. But you know how Oprah is. Oprah is basically an anti-black man. She hates black men. You see, the black feminists don't understand that you don't have a struggle with the black man. The black man can't do nothing to stop you from getting a job. You can't name me not one time in history where black men was able to stop black women from getting a job. How can you say that? The black feminists don't have no real truth about nothing. You know, today I was in a store and one of these lesbian female was upset with a dude just because he was standing right next to her. What's wrong with these black lesbian? Oh, I don't want this guy standing. Man, come on, you disrespected my space. You see, you got to basically say other things to rationalize your gender war with black men, but specifically, you're not talking about nothing relating to denying you a job like the white man does. You can't mention that. That's the reason why you have to just come up with these stupid and foolish, fussing at him just because he's standing close to you or something like that. That's ignorant. You can't. This is the problem with the black feminists. You can't talk about you have an issue here with black men. This is a gender war that they like to start, and y'all basically using the white females uh, situation that she's trying to gain power. And the reason why she's trying to gain power because she believed even throughout history that she can execute white supremacy better than her men. You got to understand that. You can't say as a black woman you have the same struggle as a white woman. Fool, the white man is on top of all of us. That's dumb. That's foolish talk. But we have here the same thing with the Black Lives Matter movement. Alicia Garza, Patrice, is it Colors, and Opel Tomato, whatever. I know she's from Nigeria. These women as well started the Black Lives Matter movement, but it's almost this kind of feminist, foolish talk where you use the death of black men, but then want to say, oh, well, then want to call yourself feminist, but you want to use black men as a way to promote your organization so that you can think that you're basically advocates of all black people. We basically can see right through it. We can see right through it. And that's the reason why y'all don't get no support from the black community, moreover. Now let's go ahead and talk about it. Okay? They were her property. White Women as Slave Owners in the American South by Stephanie Jones-Rodgers at the University of UC Berkeley. She lays it out very beautifully, this dear sister, in her new book, and talking about how white women basically were more harsh during slavery than white men was. You know, they sitting down there, the slave all in the house. The white woman say, "Are you not gonna make that nigger do it? I'll go and make him do it." They were more harsh than white men was in certain instances on the plantations. That's the reason why I did that commentary. Do you want a Biden plantation or do you want a Trump plantation? No different. They both white supremacists. No different. You got a lot of black folks out here talking about, I want Joe Biden in office. Okay, the history of Joe Biden, you want him in office? Okay, let's put him in there. What is he going to do different than Donald Trump? He don't support reparations. He came out with that little foolery, talking about, oh, if black people get reparations, so do the Native Americans. Okay, well, where is our reparations talk again? And that foolish crap that they did on Capitol Hill, that bringing all these people on there who talk about we don't want a check and we don't need a check. We already know that was a scam. What Sheila Jackson Lee did, it was basically a scam. These people are scamming us, and we don't need a lot of black people out here trying to jump on board with other folks' agenda, and that's exactly what's going on. And so we have this going on a lot in the black community. But Tamika Mallory should go and read Stephanie Jones-Rodgers' book. I think that she will learn a lot from Miss Rodgers in her and basically what the white women who's now claiming that they're being victimized of sexism and all this old stuff after we know for years that white women basically participated and contributed to the same kind of harsh racism that white men has as well on us. The article from the Washington Post also goes on to go deep inside that, according to Jones-Rodgers, she provides an extensive study of the role of Southern white women in the plantation economy in the slave market system. The field of women history has long been committed to making the invisible visible, taking topics and sources that were was absurd, overlooked, or hiding in the plain sight and bringing them into a sharp focus. Plantation mistresses exercise of mastery and their complicity in the system of slavery have been obscured. Ironically, both by very old forms of pro slavery propaganda and by modern feminist scholarships. Pro slavery propaganda for the 19th century depicted white women as the gentler face of slaveholding, as the benevolent souls who acts of kindness softens the system and the domestic creation content. So they were basically up here talking about, well, we were this goody shoe. We didn't really do a lot of things to the slaves. No, 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 no. We were very kind. And you even have movies and stuff like that trying to depict white women of being a nicer, kind slaves in a movie. No. They were as harsh as all outdoors. And that's the reason. And the same thing during Reconstruction, where you had white women say, telling their men, you protect me from that nigger by all costs. White women were very harsh during slavery, during the Civil War era. They were extremely harsh to black people. If I don't, go whip that nigger, I will. They were extremely harsher. And this is the reason why a lot of your old books that came out in the 1800s or 1800s, they were all suppressed because it really deep, it goes in depth into talking about all of this. But see, people like Tamika Mallory, she's not gonna, she don't want to hear that because she's trying to basically get in good with white people so that she can get the same kind of crumbs that Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson was getting, calling herself a civil rights leader. Speaking of speaking of civil rights, you got Tamika Mallory on her website Until Freedom. You understand? Tamika Mallory is a nationally recognized civil rights activist and seasoned community organizer. She serves as the youngest ever executive director of the National Action Network. See, this is one of Al Sharpton girls. So now we have Tamika Mallory move into a great and important role, but she's basically is moving towards a feminist type role. And I was like, okay, I'm going to donate to our organization. And then I heard this TMZ interview and heard all these other interviews and stuff like, oh no, because now you're supporting a black feminist agenda. Speaking of feminists, black feminists, where's this? Let me see. Let me show y'all. Let's read some history that hurts our minds when we try to figure out the facts about propaganda. See, black people, it hurts their head to read the truth about what's going on, the manipulation of what has happened to us in this country. It's almost like we get a headache when we start trying to basically call out people from their anti-black, their anti, you know, black racism against us, and say, hey, their racism against us is just like any other racist against us as well. Where you have Asian people who basically right now got a lawsuit talking about they've been discriminated against these colleges and universities. This is just to push the black people there out and replace them with Asians. This is what all of this is about. The lawsuit at Yale, the lawsuit coming from what's the other college that Obama went to? They got a lawsuit as well, and Asians are got one over there talking about they being discriminated against. See, this is exactly what this is doing. This is to push black people out of the colleges and universities, out of being admitted to these colleges and universities based upon the ideal that we have a right to go to these colleges. And if Yale or Harvard or any other big time what they call distinguished colleges and Asians are feeling like they've been discriminated against, they can go back to their own country and they can go into those colleges and universities. At some, they did say that they basically can teach their own people more over than white folks can at Harvard and Yale here in the United States. But this whole lawsuit that they're doing against Yale and Harvard and all these other colleges is basically based upon the fact that they want to push the black people out of those colleges and universities. And they're coming out to UC Berkeley, where our sister Stephanie Jones-Rodgers is a professor there, associate professor there, who basically, who Tamika Mallory don't know, who wrote this book to basically show you that this is not a gender situation. If the white woman had 40% of slaves and ownership of slaves, and basically now she's the second largest business women group in the United States, then how is she being discriminated against? Come on, Tamika Mallory, you're talking foolish. Is black women the second largest business owners in the United States? No, it's white women. So there's an unequal balance there. But Tamika Mallory is trying to say it is a situation of sexism. Okay, so are white women not women? And this is the foolishness that we get caught up into. We cannot allow our women to use white females, you know, talking points against us, and basically they come out. You're going to sound stupid because you can't put sexism and racism in the same category. It does not work. And as our sister Vicky Dillard talked about, is that you are a black person first before you're a woman. And that's the problem with us right now. We basically allow other people to come in and get us all confused, got us all discombobulated as to what the real issue is about. The same thing that they tried to do with Ice Cube when he went on Fox Soul with Vivica Fox and all these old foolish women calling themselves queens and don't know what the hell they're talking about. Oh, we're black queens and we're blah, 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 blah. You're not no queens up there acting foolish and silly. Oh, well, black women got specific needs and blah, blah, blah. And the man is sitting there trying to tell you that this is not about, this is about black people. And he has to then sit there and ask you, wait a minute, are black women a part, is not black people? He has to ask you that as a black woman? Come on. You're trying to gender divide us. And when you give certain types of resources in which the man was talking about money, it doesn't matter what women do specifically when you talk there about your issues of gender. Okay, the money will take care of whatever the needs are. You got to be just ignorant, man. We got a lot of people in the black community that's just ignorant. They foolish. They basically don't. They want to listen to everybody who is not good for them. Make it make sense. You got Amanda Seals and out here and talking about she got a curse to make a point. She up there talking about you can suck a big dick and all this stuff. Amanda Seals, come on, watch your mouth. It's like, wow, you gotta start say all this stuff just to get your point across. Telling black men to suck D. I see Amanda Seals. Man, go wash your mouth out with soap. Damn. Wow. And so this is why you have to be very careful when you have certain types of people speaking for you because they don't know how to take criticism. Amanda Seals is a person who do not need to be speaking for us because she don't know how to take criticism. She said that she was from I don't want to mess it up. I forget that. I know it's somewhere in the Caribbean. I really don't want to mess it up. But her father, I think her mother is from Boston, Massachusetts. But somebody is back home in the Caribbean, in Barbados, somewhere she's from. Like I said, I don't want to mess it up. But she goes off on Tariq Nasheed, saying, I'm not going to say this F and F no more. And I'm a foundational black. Amanda Seals, you got to curse to get your point across? You got to start, come on. That's unladylike, Amanda. It's just, I can see a dude sitting there cursing, but a woman, this woman got a foul mouth. Now, those of y'all who listen to me on Instagram, you got to go over to YouTube because Instagram is saying, look, man, you're getting too much fiery up in here. So it's going to cut off in about 15 seconds. So go ahead and go to YouTube and listen to me at Lawyer Henderson Live. Lawyer Henderson TV live on YouTube or on Blog Talk Radio. But anyway, Tamika Mallory have to understand. She has to understand what's going on. Tamika Mallory is not going to basically talk about all of the things into which white women has done to us as a group as far as black people. So sexism cannot be a situation where she can, you know, say anything about sexism and claiming that that's the issue and that's the reason why women as a whole is being discriminated. Come on, because who is the person who can stop a black woman from doing anything? It's definitely not black men. Tamika Mallory. It was 516-418-5867 is the number to call in. I wanted to continue this article. The article says that some black women reported in WPA interviews that their mothers would always give birth around the same time as the white mistress, suggesting that these mistresses were also orchestrated the sexual assault of enslaved women. There were instances in which formerly enslaved people did in fact say that their mistresses either sanctioned acts of sexual violence against them that were perpetrated at the hands of white men, or that they orchestrated instances of sexual violence between two enslaved people that they own in hopes of producing children from those acts of sexual violence, Jones-Rodgers said. White women also fought to maintain the wealth and free labor that slavery provided them through the Civil War. As the Union troops made their way through the South freeing enslaved people, white women would move enslaved people farther from the soldiers' path. One woman, Martha Gibbs, even took enslaved people to Texas and forced them to work for her at gunpoint until 1866, a year after slavery formally abolished. After the Civil War, Southern white women sought to recreate slavery through exploitative work contracts. Some also wrote books portraying the institution of slavery as gentle and benign, the most famous being Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell, a woman born 35 years after abolition. Yet, as Jones-Rodgers argues in her book, it was not only white women's ideological and sentimental connections to slavery that made them defend it. Scarlett O'Hara will Ben protected her economic interests too. See, so we can't talk about a lot of gender inequality where white women basically had almost as equal shares to white men during the slave trade, that they often owned more slaves than not of white men. Okay? Tracing the transition from childhood to adulthood. Jones-Rodgers turned to married women roles in the identity as slaveholders. At the heart of her book, it is a distinction between legal doctrines and everyday realities. While the doctrine of converter stipulated that women lost her legal autonomy once she married, ceding her property to her husband. In practice, women often refuse to relinquish the power over slaves that they have cultivated since girlhood through legal tools such as marriage contracts, the equivalent of modern prenuptial agreements. Deeds, will, trust, arrangement, mistresses move to exert control over their own estates, seeking to ensure, for example, that their inheritance would not be seized to pay their husband's debt. So white women during slavery had almost the same kind of rights, of course, that we're supposed to have right now in the country. And white women basically utilized in the 1800s and during the Civil War. So this talking about that there is a gender discrimination when you can see that Tamika Mallory don't even understand the facts of what the power that white women have over not only black women but over black men as well during the Civil War. How Stephanie Jones-Rodgers break down that particular era of white women basically running and controlling, and sometimes would basically do more over than white men during slavery. How they kept more slaves than white men. 40% of white women participating, okay, during Reconstruction, where you had white women more harsh than white men. You understand? So to say that sexism is almost as equal or maybe equal to racism as Tamika Mallory points out, that's foolish and ignorant and it's hood rat, bed wench, and basically feminist talk. You understand? And so therefore, if Tamika Mallory is going to move towards from civil rights, which I don't know what's fighting civil rights, as Dr. Claude Anderson points out, we don't know who civil is. I would ask and urge Tamika Mallory to sit down with the black grassroots and talk more about this. Inform herself or introduce herself to some real literature about the roles that white women played while she's helping to advocate for them now, when you know that most of them voted for Donald Trump. And why did they vote for Donald Trump, the man that you voted against, Tamika? Is because they basically thought it was offensive to have Kamala Harris as the first woman vice president when you know that a white woman has not been a vice president. She's upset about that, Tamika Mallory. While you're helping to say that you're fighting as an allegiance, you have white women, of course, who voted for Donald Trump because they were upset, Tamika, that a woman of color has been chosen from or by their men, or by Joe Biden. So why is white women supporting Donald Trump over your vice president, Tamika Mallory? You can't answer that question. Is it really about gender discrimination? Or, Tamika Mallory, maybe it's about race. Maybe that white women, because they voted for Trump, Tamika, do not want a woman of color to be the vice president. And maybe, Tamika, that you had all kinds of backlash when certain types of white women didn't really want you to speak at the women's movement or women's march. How did they basically, Tamika, get you, Tamika Mallory, to talk about women issues when they do not like Kamala Harris, a woman of color? White women thinking it's offensive, Tamika, to have a so-called black woman being the first vice president. They've already was mad at Obama being the first black man, supposedly, being in that office first. Tamika, is this really about women issues? Tamika, is this really about sexism? Talk black to me. Because Tamika, my dear sister, you are not really understanding what is going on. You're basically is been using these white feminist talking points, and when Cindy McCain called you out, Tamika, you started talking about yes, and what you say about anti-Semitism, that is wrong, and blah 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 this and blah blah blah. See, when we get into the gender wars that we've always been, this black man and black woman gender war is going to be the real reason. See, this is the gender war that has started in the '60s that we basically have been engaged in because we allow white people to control the narrative. Our struggle is the same. The black man has not stopped black women from doing anything, as I said and mentioned earlier. And other black men and women have called that out, especially our dear sister Vicki Dillard. And so therefore, Tamika, you gotta sit down with us. You gotta basically align yourself with black people who have the facts, who've done the research. Okay? Because you're gonna join that movement of what our dear historian brother Stephen Ward called that black power feminist organization group, like the Black Lives Matter, Tamika Mallory. Tamika Mallory, the black feminists has their own agenda because they're hating men, not because they're not having no power, Tamika. The black feminists hate black men because they cannot get one. So when you can't get a man who's attractive to you and you look like a man yourself, like Tarana Burke do, you align yourself with the black feminist movement by listening to the white woman because your men have basically said, okay, you're not attractive. Tamika Mallory, that's the reason why the black feminist movement was really created. These were women who basically, it was not about them getting into leadership roles. The black women were struggling to get men in general. When I first moved to Georgia, Tamika, there was a black woman on the train. She was calling black men all kinds of MF this and MF that, Tamika. It was not because we did anything to her. You know why she was doing that? It's because none of us as black men found her to be attractive, Tamika. And that happens. That's the reason why you got women shaving off their heads and they want to marry and try to get the feminine type woman. She basically don't see her own self as being a woman who can be feminine, so she cuts her hair off and then she goes after the attractive, pretty women the same way do black men do. You understand, Tamika? So her struggle as you can see, it's not the same as the white woman's struggle. The white woman is struggling against her man, Tamika, because she believes that she can execute white supremacy better than him. The black woman has no business talking about black feminists and all this stuff. The black woman who turns into a feminist is upset because of the unattractiveness and that other men do not see her as being feminist. So she identified moreover with a black man so that she can go out and find a black woman who is feminine. And that's who she tries to then relate to in a relationship. Very, very different, Tamika Mallory. So when you say, my dear sister, that sexism is the same as racism, my dear sister, no, it's not. The black man has no power, no authority to deny you a job. He does not have no authority to basically put you into any economic foundation, other types of situation that we as a race see ourselves in with white supremacy. Let's stop playing games here, Tamika Mallory. Now, yes, you cute and all, but let's stop playing games here, Miss Mallory. The ideal is that you can't show me in history where the black man has done anything to black women by keeping them and putting them down or all of that stupid stuff where you can say, oh, well, I had a black man who dissed me and called me a bitch and a hoe and all that old stuff. That's the only thing we can do is call you out of your name. But can we stop you from getting a job to make a marry? No. Okay? Can we stop you from basically, in your, going out here, getting your own business started, Tamika? No. That little organization that you're doing, you're the leadership of that. You got a black man under you, Tamika. Oh, but this is about gender discrimination, my dear, right? You got two black men in your organization that is following your footsteps. He's basically is right there with you, but yet you're saying that this is about sexism. These black men are part of your organization, and so now, Tamika, you got one Arab woman on your organization as well, Tamika. But you don't call out the fact that the Arab man and the Muslim, of course, and neither do the Nation of Islam, to be fair, the role, as I said earlier, that the Muslim participated in the slave trade before the European did. We have to start calling out everybody, Tamika Mallory. And my dear sister, I would love to sit down and have a discussion with you on that. Okay? Because as you say, everybody grows. Everybody is still learning. Everybody is still trying to understand. Okay? But what every black person I've met, of course, who's been scared to call out white supremacy, they don't understand that that's the biggest problem that we have as black folks. You understand? And so to cower down and engage in any kind of agenda war, when I see black men do the same thing, using their penis because they're scared to going out and get real power, I get upset. You understand? So I call out everybody, Tamika. And the ideal here is that sweetheart Joe Biden is not going to do a damn thing for black people. Him and Kamala Harris basically have built their whole career on putting black men and women in jail, specifically black men, Tamika Mallory. You can't show me anywhere throughout history where black women were deprived because a black man stood in their way. In fact, it was black men during slavery who basically came out so that the black woman would not be as harmed during slavery. And so when the men is gone, here comes the slave master, of course, taking your newborn babies and crushing them their heads and stuff like that. That was the thing. And nobody has that record more than the European. You can't show me no history of black men doing that. So this is not about sexism. How is this about sexism? Well, like I said earlier, the white women are 40% participated in the slave trade, Tamika. They were basically now the second largest business owner in the country, Tamika. Basically, they got more wealth out of the $100 trillion that white people have. Guess who have half of that? Who have aligned themselves with white men to basically destroy certain wealth and to keep black people in a segmented labor market. Oh, it's that white woman you're trying to align yourself with. Oh, was black men doing that? No. So sexism is, as Dr. Claude Anderson talked about, is a horizontal issue. Or maybe he said a vertical issue, one of them. Okay. But the point is it has nothing to do with racism. The ideal of sexism is that you're talking about gender, and there's going to always be things that men can do that women can't. You got to face that reality. The ideal here is that when Judge Joe Brown talked about getting upset about putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill, and the Breakfast Club, especially Angela Yee, who, by the way, don't every time there's a talk about black problems on the Breakfast Club, all of a sudden she got other things to do. You understand? But Judge Joe Brown said something that was very important. He said that to put Harriet Tubman on there before a black man, it was fair. That was not misogynistic. The black man is first, the man is first in every race, and that's just how it is. There's no way that you can basically sell us in gender discrimination. You're going to turn black people off. The intelligent black woman understands that, not these hood rats. Tamika Mallory getting me all upset. All right. Bear with me here. All right, so we got 8 minutes to our show ending on Blog Talk Radio and on YouTube. These women from Black Lives Matter, they also are part of the problem. Alicia Garza, Patrice Cullors, and Opal Tometi, however you say her name. You see, these black immigrants, and not all these girls are black immigrants, but you see, it's the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm trying to figure out, because we believe, of course, that they are a Democratic ran organization. And basically they try to switch up. They try to start talking about Africa. They try to talk about black issues. They had Trayvon Martin. They said, oh, after the acquittal of George Zimmerman, we started this movement. And basically we're Black Lives Matter. Is these are three lesbian black women who, again, with this black feminist sexism type crap that Tamika Mallory, my dear attractive sexual brown sugar sister, talked about as well. The ideal here is that we have a lot of women who are turning to this lesbian lifestyle, feminist lifestyle, buying into the rhetoric of white women thinking that, oh, this is about sexism. You all don't want women to have anything. You basically don't want us to do this. You don't want to do that, and blah 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 blah. Come on, man. You have to start looking at the situation in terms of race. That the black woman is a part of the black race, She is not an island to herself, and nor will she gain any power by trying to do things on her own. In fact, what she's shown herself, like some of these black feminists do, I think Tariq Nasheed showed you a video about two black women down there in a relationship, lesbian couple, trying to go out there and protest some white supremacists who sucked and kicked them out, who literally just socked them out. See, they won't do that to a real black man who's down there talking about black power, because we don't allow the white supremacists to beat us like these civil rights clowns. We go down there and we've shown, of course, in other countries where we were fighting the white supremacists. We like I said, one brother in the UK, they were beating the white boys up down there so bad that one of them had just felt sorry for him. He had to carry him on his back and get him out of there. We don't play games with the white supremacists. And real educated, down to earth black women understand it. Not these old loudmouth ghetto world star hip hop whores. You understand? And that's the reason then why they want Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. White women are infuriated that she is the so-called vice president. But why did they put this woman in office for, y'all? So that they can sell this vaccine quicker to us in the black community. And the first one who's going to get it is these hood rats in the ghettos, your world star hip hop crowd, who talking about, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that vaccine for a check. They're gonna give me a stimulus check again, and they're gonna give me some welfare. Yeah, I'll be the first one to take that vaccine. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. White Daddy is here, so we can take that vaccine, y'all. Y'all, come on. We're gonna get $5,000. Those are the ignorant people who basically voted for Joe Biden. Tamika Mallory. Come on and understand what's going on here. Now, join us tomorrow at 7 o'clock when we're going to go into depth of this. For those of y'all who's on Instagram, join us tomorrow. Y'all showed up late, but this commentary will be on Lawyer Henderson TV on YouTube and on Blog Talk Radio / Cinema City Pictures. You'll be able to listen to all the commentary and get game of what they're trying to do. They're trying to separate and divide us from black women again. That's the reason why we can't get our house in order. You can't continue to basically get women to think that they're independent. This is foolish. You can't. It's illogical. There's no such thing as independent women. You got to understand that. The ideal here is that we basically need our women to come back into the houses and be housewives and stop all this Instagram shaking and twerking your ass all around here thinking that's going to get you some attention. I mean, it's getting certain types of attention to send. These are Negroes who don't want power. These are black men who sitting there in the strip club and all that and don't have nothing to fight for. Those are the guys who we cannot rely upon in the black community. And we know that as real black men. Understand? But I didn't mean to go in on Tamika Mallory like that. Like I said, I love my dear sister, but she's wrong to try to equate sexism with racism. The two are not the same. Come on, Tamika Mallory. Let's sit down and have a discussion. Let's talk about the wealth gap that white people have against black people. $100 trillion that they got against our 1.3 trillion. Let's talk about it, Tamika Mallory. And white women contributing within that number. Arab having all kinds of things within their own country. Asian, Chinese women participating in their economic system where black men and black women are not doing nothing while you're trying to basically be a part of a women movement in which they don't need your advocacy. Join me tomorrow on the Lawyer Henderson Show. That's all.